Welcome back, everybody. This is the Racer on Demand show. I am your host, Megan, joined by Amanda Van den Elzen. So today's episode, we wanted to go over our experiences at the SEMA show because we've got PRI show coming up. And so what can you guys do when you are preparing for PRI show? So what to do before, during, and after the show to make sure it is going to be a big success for you, and also what not to do at the show, because sometimes racers, especially if this is going to be your first time, if you're listening to this and it's your first time going to PRI show, you're probably kind of like, what am I supposed to do? Might be a little overwhelming. So Amanda and I want to share our experiences because we've been going there for a while, but this was your first time to SEMA show. Is that correct?
Yeah, Chris and I had never been there before. It was big.
Yes, it is a lot. It's so overwhelming, like, and you guys were outside, and even, like, I didn't even get to walk around the whole outside, like, it grows and grows each year. Like, the Optima area where they had, like, another burnout, like, there's, like, 3 different burnout and, like, drifting spots, like, I didn't even see that area till before I was leaving, so I was leaving right as soon as you were coming in, so I didn't get a chance to see you there, but I did see Chris, and he had a great spot where the truck was at, because especially if you were in South Hall and, like, coming down the escalator, that was, like, one of the first things you would see outside the window was Chris's two-seater truck at the Nexon booth. So how was that for you guys? Like, not only just being your first SEMA show, but how was it bringing your own vehicle there?
Yeah, we were joking. We were like, why do anything small? Like, why go to SEMA the first time and not just be like integrated into the show in some capacities? Last time we recorded, he had just left that morning. So he drove out 9 days before I was able to join him out there, which was really weird for us to be apart that long. But I had a conference that I was speaking at in Appleton here in Wisconsin. So I had to fly out the Wednesday of the show and meet him out there. But he was keeping me updated the whole time that he was out there. And first off, he was like, the spot that my truck is in is so high visibility. He's like, this is something I could never have dreamed of, even like 2 years ago, thinking about where our program is now and the fact that he's able to showcase his build at SEMA was just so exciting for him, and I couldn't be more proud of the fact that he's grown his program to be that visible. It's amazing. So that was really cool. He towed the truck out in an enclosed trailer behind our RV, and then he stayed in a KOA just outside of downtown Las Vegas. So we were kind of off the strip and it was a little bit quieter, easier to sleep in the RV at that KOA. So that was really cool, and he was there to witness, like, everything getting set up, and Nexon's booth was huge,
It
like,
was, yeah.
it was the biggest tire manufacturer booth at SEMA. I think it was probably visible from space, honestly. It's like the 8th world
Yeah.
wonder. But it was so cool just to be there with that huge of a presence, and we were right next to the Hoonigan burn yard, so periodically you couldn't hear yourself think just because everything was going crazy behind the Nexon booth. But when I got out there, I had the opportunity to be a podcast guest on GSD with Jenny, talking about how we get shit done. The topic was building an intentional brand, and I got to speak about that from the Racer on Demand standpoint. I know you were a guest on her show too, right?
It was, yes, and I did that Wednesday morning.
Okay.
So, yeah, and that was, yeah, because I had never met Jenny before we did that, and so didn't exactly know kinda, yeah, like, what the podcast would be about, if it was just gonna be a typical, like, "Hey, here's" because for me, usually podcasts I do, it's just like, "Let's talk about racing, so let's talk about how you got into the sport, your accomplishments, what are you racing now, and all that type of stuff." And it, like, had nothing to do with that. So it was like a nice, like, refresher. And instead of it just being like the typical podcast that we usually do or interviews that we do, it was nice to do something different. And we got really personal. I might have cried a little bit. So, so yeah, it was good. I loved doing that.
That's so cool. I didn't meet Jenny either. Erica from Autofluencer, I'm sure probably also set you up too with that, but she reached out and asked if I'd want to be involved. And it was really cool. I got to share the stage with Lee Reiser from Real Truck, also talking about their branding and how they brand themselves and the programs that they have out there. It was a really cool experience. But again, why go to SEMA and not end up being recorded in a booth, you know? And then I got to volunteer with the SEMA Business Women's Network and helped
Nice.
to run their booth for a couple of hours on Friday too. I was only there for those 2 days. I did not see even remotely half the show.
Yeah.
We walked around just a little bit to meet up with some of our partners while we were there, but it was way too much for 2 days, especially, sitting down with the Nexon folks while we were there to just kind of talk about the last year and what the future looks like and start to set stuff up for 2026 and beyond too.
Was Chris, like, especially, like, when you weren't there, did he have to stay at the Nexon booth most of the time just to stay with the truck, or did he go out and walk around?
Yeah, he got to walk around, but we talk a lot about meaningful connections, and one of the ways that we build meaningful connections with our partners is by kind of being their strategic arm, and you've talked about it before. I think the last episode you said an Alex Stryler quote, right? You're an extension of the marketing team.
Yes.
If we're gonna be featured at the Nexon booth, it didn't make sense for him to not be there most of the time. So he was out there, signing autographs and handing out swag. They had so much swag to give away.
Yeah.
They were doing a giveaway for a set of tires. So, he did spend his time there really just adding value to the marketing effort that was already there. And he got to, meet some really cool people and reinforce some relationships with even just the sales team was there. And it's so important that they know what we're doing and how we're involved and how we can help. And then he told me one of his favorite moments was he got to meet the president of Nexon Tire, who was in from South Korea with the executive team from their corporate, not just Nexon Tire USA, which is who we work with, but the whole cumulative Nexon Tire. His name is Mr. Han, and Chris was so excited to meet him. But it was really funny. And what took him off guard is how excited Mr. Han was to meet Chris as well. He's like, he hugged me.
Aw, that's great. I love that, and, like, that reminds me, so it was 2018 when we put our dragster on display at the NGK booth. 2018 was when we started our title sponsorship with NGK, so we had a full wrap on the car, and they were with us for 4 years, I believe, 18, 19, 20, and 21. Yeah, so they're title sponsor for 4 years. We did the car in their booth the first year, and it was inside of Central Hall. It was a logistical nightmare just because dragsters are very long and not easy to maneuver around.
Yeah.
But, like, I love how you mentioned about the sales team because, like, even still to this day, they used to come and do, like, big activations at the drag races. They don't anymore, but there was salespeople that were there working the SEMA booth that didn't come to the activations at the track, so there were some new faces there in the booth, and, yeah, just, like, really, like, hung out with them and got to, like, get to know them because we did spend, especially me, like, my dad was out walking around most of the show, but I did spend, like, majority of my time in the booth to, yeah, like, sign autographs, take pictures, but, yeah, like, meet the sales team, and still, like, even to this day, like, got to catch up with them because now they just do the Apex side, and so went to the booth and, like, just still like, "Hey, what's going on?" Like, it's been a few years, but and the only time I do get to see him is in Vegas for SEMA or the Apex show, but, like, we're friends on social media, like, still catch up every now and then, so it's just great to still have those relationships because even though they're not our title sponsor anymore, they're still a sponsor of our team, so it's how important it is just to maintain those
Yeah.
relationships because, like, again, like, you never know what could happen in the future, maybe they do step up again. Maybe they know someone that might be a fan of racing. They could invite them to come out to the track or something like that to go and watch you race, and then they become a fan of yours. Or even just like within, internal of the company, just to kind of have them as a cheerleader too is,
Mhm.
it's always a good thing. But yeah, I think it is so important just to spend time with the people that are working the booth and really building those relationships because it's you never know where it could lead on, or maybe that person might go from sales into marketing and then maybe they might be in charge of sponsorships. So you never know what could happen.
Yes, yeah, and, marketing and sales, I've seen in some companies, they work really well together, hand in hand, because marketing's job is to funnel leads to sales, and sales picks them up and turns them into sales, right? Like, that's how the purchasing funnel goes. Sometimes there's, like, that kind of headbutt in between when the sales team is saying, "Well, you're not sending me qualified leads," or the marketing efforts that you guys are doing doesn't translate to sales, and you see that headbutt sometimes. And as a racer, you can either approach that as being on the receiving end of that, saying, well, the sales team doesn't believe in motorsports marketing, and that sucks. Or you can be proactive about it, meet the sales team, and work with the sales team to drive more marketing value for them. Ask them, how can motorsports marketing help bring you more qualified leads? And honestly, that's a completely separate budget too. So if you do get relationships with the sales team, you can go outside of the marketing budget, which sometimes motorsports marketing isn't always the best funded part of a business, right?
Yes.
But you best believe that they're funneling money and investment into their sales team as well. And if you can tap into that sales budget, then you have an entire another budget to work within. And as a motorsports athlete, that's just another source of income that you can capitalize on too. So those relationships are hugely important because of that too.
Yeah, exactly. I love that you brought that up. And another thing is I've noticed companies that we've worked with like that they might seem really big on the outside, but they're really small on the inside, and usually the salespeople are doing both sales and marketing. Like, there's one that we work with that we think is really big, but they're actually pretty small, and they don't even have a marketing manager or, like, anybody that's, like, just does the marketing. It's all their, like, regional sales managers decide which athletes and drivers they're sponsoring based on, like, who's in their region, and so, yeah, so they have that bucket for that. So yeah, just another great reason to make sure you build those relationships. So, at the SEMA show, did you guys have an agenda before you got there? Because it was your first time.
Yes.
So did you kinda go into it, like, open, just gonna do whatever, or did you plan it out?
Yeah, so there was some planning involved. We didn't have much of an agenda just because we didn't know what to expect.
Yeah.
And, being so integrated into the Nexon booth, we were kind of at their agenda as well. And they were doing this really cool live stage thing where they'd bring in people to do like a live radio show. And they're going to be using that stuff in their marketing tools moving forward too. So we didn't have that schedule until just a couple of days before we went out there, before Chris went out there. So we kind of had to play scheduling by ear. But that being said, we did know what our purpose was going out there. And we also did do some legwork on the front end before we went out. We're talking in retrospect about SEMA, but like you said in the intro, these are things that apply to any trade show. And when you're prepping to go to PRI, be thinking about, how can I replicate this going into PRI too? So the first thing is we went out there with a purpose in mind or a goal in mind. And I think a lot of racers kind of fall into this trap that they set for themselves where the purpose is to get sponsors. And a trade show is never the place to get sponsors or seal a deal on something that you don't already have in the works. It is just not made for that. Our purpose going into it was we have a lot of partners that were going to be there. We wanted to make face with them. Some of them we'd never met in person before. It's only been virtual calls. Some of them we have proposals out to right now that we wanted to follow up on. And some of them we've been working with for a couple of years, but things have changed in their business or their strategy. And we wanted to sit down and just make sure that we were up to date to be the best partner we could be.
Mhm.
Chris lined up a bunch of meetings with a bunch of people. nobody that we didn't already know. Like I said, they're all busy, right? Their first focus is not going to be getting to know somebody new and giving them a sponsorship.
Yeah.
So he had, these meetings lined up already. He had set up times specifically with folks, and those people that we weren't really sure when we were going to meet with, he just kept in contact while we were at the show. Or, at one point we were by the Malco booth. Malco is one of our sponsors. They do detailing products. They had a bunch of people in their booth, and we could see that the person we were trying to meet with was talking to somebody else. So what we did was we hung out. We looked at their products, we stood around their booth, we made sure we weren't in the way. She knew we were there, but we weren't going to rush her out of a conversation either. Sometimes it's not like, oh, I have a scheduled time. It's just like, hey, I said I'd pop by this booth and I want to make sure that I stop by there. So, that was some of the front end legwork that we did, was planning out who were we going to see and why.
Mhm. I was just gonna say, and probably did you look at the map before, like, to schedule it, like, just so you could be like, "Okay, like, we'll be close to Central Hall, so let's try to, like, do the companies that are here instead of going from, like, central to west to south to
Yeah.
east." Like, it's crazy, like, how long it takes just to get to another hall at SEMA.
Yes. So we were pretty fortunate because a couple of the companies that we needed to meet with, they're actually more of like the prospective partners. They were at Apex. So Chris did a day of just he went to Apex, and that's when he met up with those people. I think we only had one partner that we needed to meet with that was actually at the SEMA show, other than Nexon, which was obviously our home base. We didn't really have to walk around the whole show, and honestly, I didn't. I think I only stepped foot in probably 2 or 3 of the halls. I didn't even go to a couple of them because I didn't need to. But you're right, like mapping it out is such a big part of prepping for that in advance. For you, going to SEMO, what kind of things did you have in mind? Like, what was your purpose for being there, and how did you set yourself up for success for that?
This year was a little different for me. So usually when I go to SEMA, I like to go to the education classes that they have, which are in usually the upstairs of the halls. But this year I was only there for a day and a half, so limited on time and wanted to make sure that we did go and meet all of the important people. We did spend the first half of Tuesday walking around outside mostly, and then a little bit in Central Hall. Took the shuttle to go over to Apex. Actually, I took a Uber because it was a lot last year I took the shuttle and it's like an hour-long drive, even though it's only just a few miles, but because there's so much traffic, and then they dropped us off at, like, a weird place, and it took, like, 30 minutes of, like, walking through hotels and, like, we had no idea, like, where we where we were at, and so just trying to find, like, where the actual, like, Apex convention, like, show was at. So, this time I took an Uber because it's like, I knew exactly where I needed to be dropped off at, so I could just walk right in. So then Tuesday afternoon, spent the time at Apex, that's where NGK and Gunk are at, and then there was a couple other ones that we wanted to pop in, say hi, whether it was just someone we had met a few years ago, just to keep the relationships going. I mean,
Mhm.
just like what you said, it could be someone that we've been in talks with for a few years, but have never actually done anything together, but just trying to keep it warm just in case there is an opportunity there, extending relationships with sponsors that we currently have. Or, yeah, we didn't really meet anybody new. Oh, I do take it back. Okay, there was one person new that we met. So Wednesday was when I spent most of my time in Central Hall, which is more the racing part of it. I did go to West Hall for a little bit, just kind of to check out more of the off-road stuff. But yeah, I don't think I went to like South Hall or like North Hall at all.
Yeah.
I don't even remember like what's in those ones, but
I have
um
no idea.
yeah, but yeah, there was someone new. So, it's a product that we use on our race car, and my dad had met someone there. Somehow he got like a little bit of free product, and they were like, "Hey, hey, we'll give you this free product if you can make us a social media video." And so then my dad sat on it for 3 months, and then he's like, "Oh, hey, by the way, I need to make a social media video." And I was Oh, okay, and then, like and he had already, like, used the product and, like, he did take some like, before and after pictures of what he was doing, but I was like, "I can't really do, like, a whole lot with this." So we just we did what we could with it, but so that was something that I wasn't really prepared for because I didn't know until, like, last minute when he told me that. So I had not done, like, any research on who it was that I, like, needed to meet or, like, who would be the person that's kind of like decision maker in their marketing or sponsorship side. So went to the booth and like I'm always with my dad at the show. My mom did come this year, but my mom's not really a part of the business side of it or anything. So she's just there to hang out. And she's just there to like take the pictures for us. Basically.
Yes.
But so my dad's just like he's not scared at all to just like go and meet people. But it's funny because like at the same time, my dad's not this like super relatable or like personal like person. So he's just like it's just awkward sometimes. So I'm kind of the one there to like kind of break the ice and and so anyway, so he just like walked up to their booth and he's like, "Hey, so and so like gave us this product and we did a video for you. So like can we, like, get some more?" And so I'm just like, "Hey, by the way," I'm like, "I'm the one that, like, made the video, and, like, here's the results we got from it, like, would love to have a conversation." Like, if you wanna do any more of it. So, it's just funny how, like, he's very old school, and I'm like, "Okay, dad, you can't really, like" it doesn't really work that way as much.
Yes.
But yeah, so there's just one that was, like, kinda new that I wanted to make that introduction, and, so yeah, so working on that lead right now. But yeah, like I was saying, I was only there for a day and a half, so really had to plan out where I was gonna be, like, do it by location instead of trying to, like, bounce back and forth everywhere, and I did run into Alex Stryler, so I actually hung out with him quite a bit. He made a couple introductions, for me, and so, but his, agenda going to the SEMA show is he's just there to maintain relationships that he has, but at PRI show coming up on Friday, and I believe it's at, like, 11 o'clock. I think it's from 11 to 12:30. Alex and I are gonna do another education session at PRI show, and I don't know if I'm supposed to spill the beads yet, but he wants to do because we get an hour and a half, we're gonna do a short sponsorship 101 presentation like what we always do, but then he wants to do a speed panel session. So instead of just having like 3 or 4 people on stage that are marketing directors, then just asking them like, "Hey, what is it that you look for in the racers that you sponsor?" And like, everyone gets to answer the question and it takes like 30 minutes just to get through one question. Instead, he wants to do something different where we'll have like 20 different panelists. They each only get to answer one question. And so each of them will get like 5 minutes. They'll answer their question or be like, "Hey, this is our best piece of advice for the racers at the show or like how to get a sponsorship with us." And so he uses SEMA to set up the speakers for PRI show. So I love just kind of being his shadow and following him around because he is very personal when he meets people, even if it is someone brand new. Like he's always got something to relate to or a story to tell or like he's got a connection somewhere. So it's really cool to kind of see how he works the booth and especially compared to what I'm used to with my dad, where it's like I said, like very old school and just like straight to the punch.
Yes. Yeah, it's funny how that generationally changes. It's kind of the same on our team, like, with, Chris's dad. So Chris's parents were out at SEMA with us as well, and it was kinda they did their own thing. They really were along for the ride at this point, but, yeah, it is funny. I love that you kind of poked at the PRI education too. I'm really excited now, like, I didn't know you guys were gonna do that for your session. I always sit in on Alex's session, and it's been so cool to see you in there the last couple of years too, but I love the educational sessions at PRI, and I was so bummed that by the time I got to the show, the SEMA ones, there really weren't any that were for me, as a racer or on that motorsports athlete side, so I'm really looking forward to that at PRI, and I cannot wait to see the lineup for those.
Yeah.
I do wanna talk to like, we're kind of talking about, like, what to do before the show, and you kind of alluded to it, but doing the research before you go on who's going to be there and the products that are gonna be shown, like, I think that's such a huge part of preparing for it,
Mhm.
and again, kinda talking about, like, the purpose for being at a trade show, the people that are there running the booths, like, their purpose is to sell product.
Yes.
And if, as an attendee, you're not there to buy or even shop products, I don't know that you're in the right place because, like, realistically, you should be there looking at what people are selling. And maybe it's not something that you need to purchase now, but it is something that you should be doing the research on the products for two reasons. First off, the best way to get in with a company is to use their products.
Yeah.
They're much more likely to invest in you if you are willing to invest in their product.
Yes.
But secondly, as you're shopping the products and seeing the booths and seeing what the marketing efforts are, like if you walk into a booth and you're going to pitch them, don't do that. Don't pitch anybody in a booth. But
Yes, don't do that, please.
But if you're walking in the booth with the intention of pitching them on how you can advertise like their off-road tire, for example, but you go to the booth and they have heavy, heavy marketing on their ultra high performance summer tires. Well, guess what? They're probably not going to be putting a lot of marketing dollars behind that off-road tire that you were going to go pitch the solution to selling, right? So
Mhm.
instead, you can walk around the trade show and say, like, mental note, that company is really putting marketing dollars and time and effort behind a product that would really do well with my demographic. And I have a really great way of reaching people who I know would use and love that product. And I
Yes,
think
you nailed it.
as we're shopping for ourselves, but also shopping for our fans and our friends and the people that we have influence over.
Mhm. Yeah, I love that, and, like, there's a reason why when you sign up online and it will ask you, like, "Are you a buyer?" And, like, when you get your SEMA badge, it'll have, like, in big, like, bold, a red box call out, it says "buyer" because they like, whenever you're walking around and you walk up to a booth, the salespeople are looking for that because they know, like, you're there to buy product.
Mhm.
And that's I feel like with racers, they go to these shows with the expectations of selling sponsorships and not shopping for products or trying to do research. And they're especially like at PRI, I feel like racers just come to the shows with the expectations of not doing any research before, not trying to start any conversations before. They're just gonna go up to the first person they see at the booth, and their first question is gonna be like, "Do you have sponsorships?" or "Will you sponsor me?" And
Yes.
it's just like that's just the wrong way to do business, and I feel like I hear about it and see it all the time, and it's like, we need to stop doing that, and so, yeah, exactly like what you just said. I love how you said, like, you need to invest in their products too, like, don't go up to a booth that you've never used their product before, because that's, like, one of the things they're gonna ask you is, "Have you used our product before? Do you like our product? Like, has it helped you out?" And if you're like, "No, I'm here looking for free product for a sponsorship," and they're just gonna be like, "No." Like,
Yes.
we're not just giving it away to anybody that walks up. So, you need to
Yes.
really do your research ahead of time to not only see what vendors are gonna be at the shows, and I know on PRI's website, you can look at the exhibitor list and see what companies are gonna be there, and then you can, like, use LinkedIn to figure out who's the marketing manager at that company and at least get a name so that way if you haven't done any communication with them before the show, you at least know who it is that you need to look for. And so you could ask, hey, is so and so at the booth? And if they're available, maybe you can meet with them, get 5 minutes of their time just to do an introduction, just to make a first impression. Please do not hand them a deck. You can
No.
hand them a business card, but that's about it. I don't recommend bringing your deck to PRI.
No.
And then just be like, hey, hopefully you're interested in actually using the products if you haven't yet. Just be like, "Hey, I'm looking at this, would love to learn more about it, and yeah, just would love to get some more information about your products." But I also love
Yes.
to like know how are they marketing in their booth too, because that could tell you if they've got big budget or little budget, if they're, you know, heavy into motorsports or if they're not at all.
Yeah, and I love what you said about LinkedIn too. That's another thing I got on my notes here about what you should be doing before you go to a show is looking at that exhibitor list, determining what kind of products meet your needs or meet the needs of your demographic, but then going to LinkedIn, finding the people that actually make the decisions about that. Throw them a connection before PRI because after PRI, they are going to be so bombarded. I promise you, like, there are going to be so many people trying to reach the same person or people that you are. Throw them a connection and add a note not like I'm connecting with you because I want to talk to you about sponsorship, but do a little bit of research, look through their posts and send a personal note that says something like, "Hey, I really love the product. I really like the way that you're marketing it in this way," or "I'm really interested in learning more about the products that you're offering." Don't make it about you, make it about them. Compliment the way that they're promoting something or just tell them how much you really like the product and be authentic about it. And what that does, even if they don't like spark a conversation or anything, but what that does is when they accept that connection and maybe you can ask for them at PRI, all you have to do at PRI is shake their hand and say, "Nice to meet you in person. We're connected on LinkedIn. It's so great to get to meet you." And that's a much better way to start a conversation than walking up to them and saying, "Do you sponsor motorsports athletes?" Like, people were asking Chris that in the Nexon booth. They did
Oh, yeah?
0 research. Like, literally, his truck is out there, his face is on the hero cards in front of the truck, and they did so little research that they're walking up to the sponsored athlete asking if Nexon sponsors racers. Don't be that person.
Don't be the person. Yes. Yeah. That's crazy. I don't know, I feel like it is kinda more the old school way to not, like, do your research and all that stuff and just, yeah, like, kinda walk up and just ask the question. I mean, like I said, like, kinda like how my dad does it, and so,
Yes.
yeah, so he's not in charge of of the sponsorships because he wouldn't get any. But yeah, that's crazy how, like, yeah, people were just going up to Chris and, like, not even putting, like, the 2 together of, like, "Oh, you're the driver." Like, yeah.
Yes. Okay, another thing that you mentioned that I wanna hit on is you said, like, don't go in asking for free product. And I think that's huge, and you said, like, don't go to a booth that you've never used their product and, never have any experience with their brand at all, and I, um, I think you're 100% spot on that, but as you're walking around, you are going to discover products that you didn't research and you didn't connect with people on, and you do probably wanna learn more about, and maybe you are interested in buying, and I don't think it's wrong to ask, do you have a racer discount program? Because that's not the same thing as asking for a sponsorship. And lots of companies do offer discounts to racers. That's a great way to just get a conversation going about your brand and your race team and what you do without that expectation of being a sponsored athlete and taking money out of their budget. You're still buying their product perhaps at a lesser price, which is great for you, but it's also great for them because they're selling a product they otherwise wouldn't have if they didn't go to that trade show.
Mhm. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I mean, like you said in the beginning, like, the goal for these companies is to sell products. Like, that's like, they come to the shows to make money, like, they're not coming to the shows to find racers to sponsor. That's just what happens during the show. And also at PRI, there's a huge new product showcase section that they do, and, like, they have awards for it and all that, and so a lot of times companies are using PRI to debut what new products they have coming out in 2026. So, they might be doing like a discount with it already. You can definitely ask if they do offer like a racer program where they do a discount. And for me, like getting into off-road racing and short course, like, that's totally new, and so I'm, like, reaching out to companies like wheels and tires of, you know, in drag racing, we use Weld wheels and Goodyear tires, and they don't really make products that work in off-road and for side-by-sides. So it's
Mhm.
like, I'm starting all over. So, like, I don't know who the right brands are. I don't know who the right people are. So I'm doing my research now and I see that some of the companies do have like applications that you can fill out to get one of their like racer discount programs. So I'm filling out the applications, but I also plan to go and introduce myself to them at the booth and just be like, we're using your product. We've, you know, had this great experience with it so far. Did sign up for your application program. So just wanted to, yeah, like put a face to the name and great to meet you in person. And yeah, like just looking forward to how we could work together in 2026 and not try to make it turn into this big whole pitch of like, oh, like I want you to come sponsor me because like we're also trying to figure out what is the best products for our setup. So like we are in the
Mhm.
market for certain items that we don't know what would work best with our machines or what has the best reputation. So for me, PRI is going to look a lot different this year because I'm going to be going there for our drag racing team representing Randy Meyer Racing to, I mean, just like at SEMA, to continue relationships that we already have. You know, just making sure that we are still, you know, in good terms with everybody that we're partnered with. And usually by PRI, we've already got deals pretty much to the finish line of
Mhm.
what sponsors we're going to have in 2026. There are a few that are still kind of in the decision mode, I guess. I mean, like, yeah, we've sent out proposals, so just waiting on their decision. Those are usually determined right before PRI show or maybe even right after. So if we could really, you know, woo them at the show, take them out to dinner, maybe that could help push us over the finish line with that. But
Yes.
also going in for a second part of like, okay, I'm a brand new racer now in a completely different industry and I'm shopping around for products. It's one thing to just see the stuff on the website, but like I need to actually see it in person and touch it and feel it. And
Yes.
so, and then, yeah, just trying to meet people that work at those companies, building relationships with them. Who do I vibe with? Who do I not vibe with? And seeing if that is the company that we do want to move forward with.
Yeah. I love what you said too, like, you're gonna be out there really learning about the products themselves, and what better way to learn about a product than to go there and ask the people in the booth, like, "Why is this product good? Like, what makes this different than this other brand that I also saw while I was here?" And that's a great way to start a relationship too. We talked at the beginning of the episode about how powerful it is to have the salespeople as that relationship that you have. A lot of times the people in the booth, they're not the marketing people, they're the salespeople because they're there to sell product. And if you can develop a relationship with a salesperson, let's just say, you have a really great conversation. You decide you're going to buy that product. So you have that person's card so you can follow up and buy it from them after the fact. Maybe you connect on LinkedIn, right? Or maybe you don't. Maybe you just keep that connection warm. But if you can connect on LinkedIn and then be posting your achievements and, the things that are going really well for you, for other partners, or maybe some of the challenges that you're overcoming, telling your story on LinkedIn, now that person is an observer and they might see an opportunity even when you don't and reach out and say, "Hey, guess what? Like, we're going to be releasing a new product in 2027. It would be really cool if we could reach your demographic. I see how engaged they are with the way that you present this other brand that you're working with," right? So it's not a short game when you're approaching people in these booths. It could be as simple as learning about the product that you've never heard of before, or maybe you've done some research and you want to see it in person, but going and just having a real, authentic conversation where you make a connection with a human being. And I'll be the first one to tell you there have been times when we've gone to PRI with the intention of learning about a product and potentially like working it into a new partnership. And we meet the person at the booth and we immediately decide this is not our vibe.
Yeah.
It's not always the right fit. But sometimes we walk up to a booth we've never heard of and we start talking to people and they are intrigued by what we do, and on a personal level we start to vibe with them. I think G-Force Transmissions is a great example of this. I don't think we met them for the first time at a trade show. Like, Chris has just had a business relationship with them, especially because they're mandated for the Pro Spec trucks. But while we're at PRI, we sit and talk with those guys for like an hour. If I walk up, like not even with Chris, if Roby's in the booth, he walks up and he's like, "How's the Beetle going?" And I get a big hug, and
Yeah.
they're not like a title sponsor for us by any means. And we haven't even been partnered with them throughout our entire program. This is not like this robust partnership that we have. We work together to promote their product and, they help us out with our transmissions, but it's an amazing relationship. It's probably one of the strongest relationships that we have. And it, it comes down to like the one time a year we see them at PRI. We're always just so excited to genuinely have a conversation with them.
Yes, I love that. Okay, so back to what you said about one that you don't vibe with. So
Mhm.
what do you do in that situation? Like, do you just try to end the conversation, be like, "Hey, it's great to meet you, like, thanks for your time," and just walk away, or what do you do?
Yeah, I think it depends. Like, if the product is still something that we believe in, it's just not a personal connection, then we'll probably still buy the product, right? There's nothing wrong with a good product being sold by somebody that you just don't have that chemistry with. So it's not always like a see you later. It might still be asking technical questions and seeing if there is a racer discount available, grabbing a catalog to see what else they have. It sucks to burn a bridge before it's even built. So don't burn bridges before they're even built. Now, if you're like, wow, this product isn't great, and also this person seems slimy and I just don't like them, oftentimes it is very simply just like, I really appreciate the time you took to walk me through your product. And normally I'll still take a card or something, just, if in the future we change our minds on it, which doesn't often happen, but maybe it does. And, just graciously walk away. You're not burning a bridge. You're not saying, like, wow, dude, you suck and so does your product. I'm curious on your side, like, how would you approach that?
Same, yeah, it's a good thing that you pointed out, like, depending on the product, like, if it is one that, like, you're really interested in, then I feel like that's the deciding factor. There can be a lot of turnover in our industry. If it is a product you want, you just don't vibe with the person there, then don't burn that bridge because maybe they're not there next year at the show and it could be someone else. So, you
Yes.
never know. Yeah, I've had that happen where it is like someone new comes in and they kinda just have, like, this chip on their shoulder and, like, just an attitude of, like, they think they're, hot shit, and then yeah, it just like things are off but then come back next year and that person's gone. And it's like, well, yeah, I kind of maybe saw that writing on the wall just because of their attitude
Yes.
and sometimes they like don't even take the time to like learn about the product or like so they can't like answer any questions. So there's some bad apples around. But yeah, I feel like yeah, just trying to not burn that bridge, like still be like gracious and like courteous of their time, but yeah, just, like, save it for later just in case. Just in case. If
Yes.
it is one that you wanna use. If not, then you're just like, "Okay, then then I guess move on to the next one." But
Yes. Okay. So I love that you talked about the turnover in the industry because that's something that we as racers can capitalize on, both in the way that you mentioned, right? Sometimes if the product's good, but the person's not, just buy the product and come back next year, right? The opposite is also true if the product or the marketing strategy is not a fit, but the
Mm,
person is a really good connection. We have a perfect example of this. So, we have been working back and forth with Ed from Royal Purple, and at SEMA we unveiled the fact that we've got purple stuff in our purple truck, right? So we got to unveil that partnership between Royal Purple and VDE Racing. But Ed is fairly new at Royal Purple, but we've been talking to Ed for a long time because he's worked with the drift side of Kenda Tire. Now, obviously, like Kenda Tire is not something that we plan on partnering with because we have this amazing relationship with Nexon Tire. That doesn't mean we don't like the people there. And so we've maintained a relationship with Ed because he's good people and we just really like him as a human being. And that relationship is really easy to maintain because he's just a decent human being that we enjoy talking to. So when that turnover does happen, maybe, the person that you're talking to at a booth for a product that maybe you don't need, but this person is really cool, like still grab their card, still maintain that relationship because in a couple of years, if they decide to move over to a new business, they might say, "Hey, I've got this connection that, I couldn't work with in my old job, but now I can. Now I
Mm.
have the budget or now I have the product or now my demographic is more similar." And that is another huge part of making those relationships.
Yeah, for sure. So, like, this is exactly how we worked with Gunk. So they were just a product sponsor for us for, like, 15 years, and then they got bought out, and before that, it was just an outside agency that was in charge of their marketing, and they didn't see, like, any value in motorsports. But the guy that was kind of like the he wasn't quite like the marketing manager, but he was the one that would kinda, like, go to the shows, like, represent Gunk and all that stuff,
Mhm.
and we built such a good relationship with him, like, he would even, he was based in Charlotte, and so whenever we'd go race in Charlotte, like, we would go over to his house, like, his wife would make us this elaborate dinner and pistachio cake, and I remember this cake because it was so good, and we got the recipe, but, like, they were so open and friendly, and, like, we built such a good relationship with them, but then when Gunk got bought out, he unfortunately, lost his job because the company Blaster that bought Gunk wanted to use their marketing, and so they let go a bunch of people, and unfortunately, he was one of them. But he had put in such a good word for us and a few of the other racers that they sponsored, even though we were just product only. When Blaster took over, they had a much larger marketing budget, and so they were like, "Well, you guys are already sponsored, we could increase this and put some dollars behind it now and see what happens," and that happened 4 years ago, and, yeah, we're on our 2nd two-year contract with them, which is amazing, and it increases each time, which is so cool. So, yeah, there is quite a bit of turnover, I think, in our industry. People that leave, I feel like, stay within the industry because
Mhm.
if you know automotive and if you know motorsports, like, it's still such a small niche that they're still gonna be around, and it's always important just to maintain those relationships because you never know what could happen in the
Yes.
future.
One of the things that I really liked from your story is that the sponsorship didn't come from the same person that you would have expected it to. It came from them vouching for you. And I think that that's a really powerful thing to think about as a motorsports athlete is that when you're building a network, you're not just reaching the people that you met, you're reaching all of the people that they know too. And that's another thing that's really powerful at these trade shows is you're not just working with the people that are there vending in the booths, but the people walking around the shows are also really powerful. So you talked about following Alex around at SEMA and how he made a couple of connections for you too. And I think knowing who is going to be attending PRI and making a point to know who they know and
Mhm.
asking for those introductions is also another great thing to do while you're at the show. I mean, I met Erica. I'm trying to remember. Did you introduce me to Erica? Maybe. I don't remember. It was a
Think
couple PRIs ago. I think so too. And now it's just, I don't know, like I just know Erica.
yeah,
But, like, I met Erica at a PRI show and, no, I think it was right before PRI. I think you had made an introduction online, and
okay.
then at PRI, I met her for the first time. She was running like a creator panel and literally as I'm walking in jumps off the stage to give me a hug. I've never met this woman before in real life. Jumps off the stage to give me a hug, but then the next day she drags me to a networking event that I didn't even know was happening. And then
Yeah.
I met people and joined the SEMA Business Women's Network because of that, right? So she expanded my network and continues to because she's an amazing connector of people. But finding those people who can introduce you to more people and being really intentional about meeting strangers. Just go to PRI and introduce yourself to strangers. But B, following the people that you know that also know people and meeting the people that they know is so powerful.
Mhm. Yes. Yeah, I was able to that happened to me, oh gosh, 10 years ago, maybe? I think even longer than that, but I went it was at SEMA, but it was actually at the Apex side, and someone that was a friend invited me to this it was like a mini awards ceremony, and it's called, Women in Auto Care. And I was like, "I've never really heard of it before, I didn't know what it was, but yeah, I'll go," like, because they invited me. And, yeah, I was able to meet so many important people there who have then introduced me to other important people, and it's just yeah, like, you there's such an opportunity to expand your network and think of it kinda like a spider web, I guess, of, like, one person can lead you to hundreds of people. So Alex is so good at that. But I wanted to go back to your point to say, like, go there to meet strangers because I am not good at that. And such like a introvert, like, I hate small talk. Like, I'm horrible about, like, trying to come up with icebreakers of, like, trying to get to know someone, like, once I know you and, like, we have something in common, then I'm fine, but if it's a stranger, like, I really struggle. So, like, I have to really, like, have questions ready to go of, like, just trying to get to know if it's someone that I've never met, like, just trying to get to know them as a person, like a human being, like, do you have kids? Like, do you have pets? Like, and if you have pets, like, do you like cats? So, like, cause some people, like, don't like cats. And so it's just, like, it's hard for me to, like, do that part. So I struggle with that, and I feel like I've definitely, like, have had, like, some really awkward interactions, and it's just, like, I leave the booth and it's like, "Oh, that one's so bad." Like, like, I had, like, completely ruined that. Like, they're probably never gonna talk to me again. And it's just, like, that's where I struggle the most is, like, going to meet people, and then also,
Yes.
like, when I get home from the shows, like, I don't wanna talk to anybody, like, I just wanna, like, locked in my house, like, not around people for a few days, like, other than my family, obviously. But, yeah, like, it can be a drain for me. Like, while I'm there, like, I'm having so much fun, especially when I get to hang out with you guys and, like, my racer friends, like, that's fun. Um, but it takes a lot out of me.
Yes. So I am also extremely introverted and it takes a ton out of me as well. And one of the things that I wrote down to do during the show, I think directly aligns with the fact that, like, it's not just you and I that are so exhausted by the end of this show. It's also every single person that you're trying to meet with is gone. Like, if you get there on Wednesday and you don't leave until what, Saturday, right? If you try to meet with people on Saturday, you're gonna notice everybody's
Yeah.
glazed over. Nobody can even talk anymore. Like, I hand out Ricolas, like, their candy at the show, and so my point in that is, especially for those of us who are introverted, like, you don't have to be in go mode the whole show. I challenge myself to make the most introductions and the most connections on the first day because that's when I'm fresh. And that's when everybody else is fresh. And if I can get those out of the way on day one when everybody is still like mentally there, including me, the rest of the show, I can kind of, relax a little bit more. I can go back to the hotel at noon and take a nap and then, meet people for dinner afterwards. Like, I don't think it's just you and I that are just dead by the end of it.
Yeah. Yeah. I know some people, they're like, it doesn't affect them at all, but yeah, it does for me. And also, like, to your point, a lot of the, like, marketing directors or, like, the higher ups, they're only there for the first day. Like, they don't
Mhm.
usually stay for the whole show. So, day 1 is your best chance to get their attention, to book meetings with them. And also what Alex always says too is get there the day before and go while they're setting up the booth. That's when most of them fly in if they're not flying in on Tuesday, to get the booth set up and everything ready to go. So it is better to, if you could, like, meet them for drinks or dinner or meet with them while they're trying to set up the booth on like Tuesday or Wednesday before. Cause then, yeah, like they're still really fresh. You're gonna be more memorable to them than just being one of 200 people that they talk to during the show.
Yes.
So yeah, that's something that Alex always, says too, and he's, like, even, like, offer to help him set up the booth, like like, just something to, like, yeah, be there, like, spend some time with them and then, like, take him out for drinks after. So, I don't know about you, but I will be at the show early, so I fly in Monday because 'cause I'm gonna be going to the Women in Motorsports North America event, which is called Women with Drive. Are you gonna be going there?
No,
Okay.
I'm a little bit bummed because I think you told me about it last year and you were like, "This is amazing. You should totally go." And you're right, it probably is amazing and I probably should go. But this year, just with the way that everything is lined up with starting another new business, I couldn't wing it. So, unfortunately not.
When are you getting in Wednesday?
Yeah, yep, we're coming in Wednesday. I'm not sure what time. I think we've got dinner plans on Wednesday with one of our friends slash business owners that have a booth there, which is hilarious because we're all based out of Wisconsin. And I feel like the only times that we actually get together are at
Yeah.
PRI. And it's another one of those connections that, like, we can't use the products they sell right now. They do automatic transmission stuff, and we're mandated to a manual transmission in our truck. But you know what? We love them as people and we
Yeah.
meet up with them. And someday when we're in a Pro 2 or a Pro 4, we know that we're going to be able to patronize them. So
Yeah. Love that. Okay, cool. Well, yeah, we'll have to figure out when we can go hang out and get some drinks. And then oh, last thing that I wanted to add for after the show. So this is
yes.
my, like, my best tip for racers that are listening. So, one thing that I like to do, if it's someone that I'm just meeting for the first time at the show, but, like, I really want to use their products, like, I really liked them as a person, I really want to make a good first impression, I will send them a gift after the show. And so, one thing I did 2 years ago was I met this lady, it was someone that my dad wanted to use their products, and so he had known someone that worked at the company. He started the conversation, the situation with them, and then brings me in, and so I didn't really know anything about them or who was the correct person again, but it was this very nice lady, and this was when Henry was maybe, like, 2 years old, and she also had a son who was a couple years older than him, so we were talking about being a mom, having kids, and, it's right before Christmas, and she told me that for her son's Christmas present, he was gonna be getting a puppy, and it was a black lab, and at that time, we had a black lab, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, like, I love our lab, like, they're the sweetest dogs ever," and again, like, I am not a dog person, but but I loved our dog that we had. We didn't really talk anything about business, about product, about sponsorship, marketing, like, we didn't talk anything about that. It was just, like, getting to know each other as human beings,
Mhm.
and then, as soon as I got home, I got her business card, so sent her an email, but on the business card and also, on the company's website is their address. And so I went to Target, bought a $10 bag of dog treats and mailed it to her with just like a thank you, like a handwritten like thank you card. And I just shipped it to the office, but attention to her. And that helped us seal a deal and get a product sponsorship with them. We didn't really have anything in the works before that, but I think like just had such a good conversation with her, like, we got to be friends very quickly, like, we just really liked each other, and then use that to kinda, yeah, like, kinda push us over the line, and then whenever they're figuring out which teams that they were going to want to work with to give out some free product, we made the list very fortunately, and we didn't really have, like, any expectations of that because we were, at the time, using a competitor's product, and we were just kind of shopping around, like, in the market of, like, kind of what else is out there, and it escalated into a whole product sponsorship, which was amazing. So, I've done that multiple times where if it's someone that, like, I really liked and I really wanna work with them, I'll just send them a small gift, like a box of chocolates or, even just, like, maybe, like, a Starbucks gift card or something like that. Like, it doesn't have to be super expensive, but just the fact that, like, you take the time to do something personal based on the conversation that you had. Like, it shows that you listened to them, right? And that you actually care. And then just doing, like, a handwritten note, like, it doesn't have to be very elaborate or anything, but, like, it just goes above and beyond what most racers are or are not doing, and really just helps you be, like, top of mind, and they're just like, "Oh, yeah, like, I really liked Megan, so let's, like, work with him." And so that's, like, my best tip that I have for after the shows.
Oh my gosh, I love that so much. And we talk about, investing in your program and we talked about investing in products, but what you're talking about is investing in that relationship and it doesn't have to be a big financial investment. It's just enough to say like I was there, I listened, I loved it. Let's just maintain this relationship. That's
Yeah.
such a good tip. I think, if we're sharing best tips, I'm terrible at remembering who I talked to about what, and my number one tip is when you grab a business card or a pamphlet or whatever it is that you're taking away from a conversation, before you take more than 10 steps, like maybe just get out of eyesight, turn around the business card, and on the back of it, write down what you talked about,
Yes.
something personal about that person that you can reflect back on, and what your plan is the next step so that when you get home after the show, you need to do follow ups. And oftentimes that's shooting off a bunch of emails, making some phone calls, purchasing products, but if you don't make notes, you're going to completely forget about, like,
Mhm.
what you talked about, and when you do send that follow-up email, it's as simple as saying, "I really enjoyed our conversation about you getting a new puppy for Christmas," in your example, right? And that's gonna help them remember who you were as well, and you're gonna be much more likely to get a response. To kind of build off of that, you're not gonna get a response from 99% of the people that you follow up with right away because they're getting bombarded with emails from everybody that took their business card. The person who is the most patient and persistent is the person who is going to come out ahead in the aftercare of that relationship too.
Well, and also, we're coming up on holidays, so they're probably only in the office for, like, a week, and then they're gonna be gone for, like, maybe 2 weeks. So, they
Yes.
might not even check their emails to see that you responded, but maybe they will.
Yes, yes, exactly, exactly, and, if you shoot them an email right after PRI, expect that they're not gonna answer it right away, and if you still haven't heard from them, maybe, like, the week before Christmas, shoot off another reply, and don't expect that to to hit home right away. Maybe you follow up again in January, and if you still haven't heard back, follow up again in February because a lot of people take being ghosted personally as like a, well, they don't even want to talk to me. But we have to remember that the people that we're making those connections with are talking to so many people and they have regular day jobs that they're trying to maintain through the holidays. So, yeah, making notes, doing follow-ups that feel personal, and then being patient and persistent, I think are my 3 aftercare recommendations.
Yeah. Yeah, I am definitely someone where, like, as soon as I meet you, I'll forget your name within, like, 2 seconds. So,
Mhm.
yeah, like, I'll write it down, like, in, like, apps on my phone or, like, on the business card is good, so you know exactly who it is you're talking about. But, yeah, like, I know, like, my dad still has a Rolodex on his desk of, you know, anybody that he's ever met, and so, he doesn't put, like, a whole lot of details on there, but he'll have, like, certain things that will help remember, like, who they are, like, it could be something personal or, um, maybe, like a hobby that they have or, like, maybe where they're at, like, where do they actually live at or something like that. And one of our good friends who he's actually retiring this year, so he's older, he's been in the industry for a very long time, and he's someone that we've got to have as a really good friend, but he is amazing at networking, and he remembers your kids' names, their ages, like, about all these people. It's like, it's so nice because when you go to the show next year and you can go up to that person and be like, "Hey, how's your son doing?" Or maybe they talked about, like, what sports their kids are in or getting a puppy, like, "Hey, how's your new puppy doing?" Like, being able to come back next year and just, like, glance at that business card from the year before to see, like, what notes you had, even if you did not follow up with them or had any conversations since the last PRI show, but you could be like, "Hey, I remember last year we talked about, this, and this," and then just look at that right before you go up to the booth and be like, "Hey, like, yeah, last year we talked about this, like, how's it going?" And so, like, they're gonna like, you're gonna really impress them,
Yes.
and that's something that, like, if someone says anything to me about, like, "Hey, how's your son?" Or, like, "Hey, like, see you're getting into side-by-side racing, like, how's that going?" Like, it just shows that they care and, like, they take the extra time to watch and listen and support, and, like, it means so much more than just regular small talk.
Yes, that is so powerful. I love that so much, and being able to take that from last year is so that's such a great point, and I think that's spot on. I think too, we talked about connecting on LinkedIn before the show. If you can connect with somebody on LinkedIn long enough before the show, you might even be able to see what they've been working on or what they've been posting about so that when you get there, after you've sent that message saying like, "Hey, I really like what you're doing here." When you get there, you can even say, congratulations on the promotion. I saw that on LinkedIn. I'm so excited for you in your new role. Or, like, wow, what a big win it was for you to be able to deliver that campaign. It looks awesome. I can't wait to see the commercials.
Yeah, just those little things that I think they don't take a whole lot of time, but they're very thoughtful and it can really deepen the relationship.
Yes.
But not many people do it because I feel like people just kinda stay surface level and they're trying to just meet as many people as they can and hope that 1 out of 100 is gonna say yes to sponsoring them instead of focusing on 10 and just trying to go deep with them. So
Yes. Yesterday I presented at the Fox City Chamber of Commerce. They have what's called Fox Talks, and they just bring local business people to talk about different topics to the Chamber of Commerce members. And I co presented with a woman that I didn't know before we got into this, but her name is Emily. And she did a whole social media segment. And one of the pieces that I wrote down is intentionality beats hustle every time. And that is exactly what you're talking about, right? Going that little extra mile to put in the tiny little bit of effort, but it makes such a big impact. You don't have to hustle really hard to meet 600 people and hope that, a couple of them stick. If you're just really intentional about the few people that you do meet with and do make a connection with. So that's powerful. Intentionality beats hustle every time.
yes, I love that. I'm gonna put that on my board. I got a board of quotes. I'm gonna put that on my board.
Yes. Oh, I gotta see that board. That sounds like an awesome board.
There's a bunch of, Henry's colorings on there as well, so he's quite the artist.
I love it.
Yeah, I think that would be a great spot to end this one. I feel like we talked about so much good stuff, so before, during, and after what to do at the trade shows, especially because 'cause we've got PRI coming up, so those that are watching and listening, you got some homework to do. Go there with a plan. I think just if you just show up to PRI and you have no idea who you're gonna talk to or what booth you're gonna go to, I feel like you do yourself a disservice and just kinda wasting your time. Come to the shows with the intentions of investing in those relationships and learning more about products and not just trying to get a sponsorship.
Yes, yes, recognizing that sponsorship is a slow burn and that little spark has to start somewhere, and PRI is a great place for the spark. It is not a great place for a proverbial bonfire.
Or burning bridges.
Yes, exactly, exactly, sticking with that theme, but, yeah, I agree, I think this is a great place to call it. I think that we've hit on so much great stuff. I'm really hoping that people are able to pick this up and really make PRI successful, whatever that success looks like to them, because they're going into it with a goal in mind.
Thanks for listening, tuning into the Racer on Demand show. Whoever's listening, I'd love to meet you in person. So if you find me or Amanda at the show, please say hi.
Yes, exactly, and until then, just love you, bye.
All right.